Correct and right.
That might be the greatest intro we've ever had.
Yes.
And it actually is cranked and ranked today, folks.
Yes.
We did a slashed and mashed and a grooved and removed, and now we're out of clever names, so we might as well go back to cranked and ranked.
Or the shitty Beatles.
Man, they suck. So it's not just
a clever name.
That's one of those jokes that, like, when you first hear it, you don't really get how fucking funny it is.
Yeah.
Shitty Beatles, are they any good? They sucked.
Awesome.
Anyway, had a coffee drink. Yes, welcome as you were brutally welcomed by Eddie Sparxx, cranked and ranked. And if you could tell by his impression, we are going to be cranking and ranking. Well, we already cranked. Now we're ranking. The discography of the band Obituary. Obituary. I don't know why I pronounced it like that.
Obituary. Sorry.
It's a little too low to be John Tardy. Like, it's even higher up. Like that's the great thing about his voice is that we'll get into that. But introductions out of the way. Old head, your host, as usual, and with me as always, Mr. Eddie Sparxx.
Eddie Sparxx. There's gonna be a lot of that. I fucking love this one.
This is so.
I don't always talk like this, by the way.
Oh, really? Have we done? I was trying to think of the death metal bands we've done. Have we done anything besides Death and Cannibal Corpse? Are those the only two death metal bands we've ranked so far?
We did Carcass.
Carcass, I guess, can fit in there a little bit. I would put them.
Yeah.
You know, they started with grindcore, and they're more of a blanket extreme metal band. And to be fair, if you want to talk about what people think is actual death metal, I guess Obituary doesn't fit in there at all, aside from vocally. So we've done, the Cannibal Corpse was one of the most fun I'd had doing a ranking, and unfortunately that one wasn't on video; it's just a podcast version. But you can get it on YouTube too if you're watching on YouTube.
Some of that shit was just that funny, though. You just know that we're just creased over, red-faced, crying our eyes out laughing. So it's
And funny enough, today I looked at Twitter and Cannibal Corpse was trending on Twitter, which is like, I'm always like, wow. And it's only because somebody posted something about something that we already know, which is that George Corpse Grinder Fisher is a fucking teddy bear. And so it's just a post about how he's a death metal singer, but if you go to his Instagram, it's all about how he loves his family and is proud of his kids, and he wins stuffed toys all the time.
And he plays World of Warcraft.
Plays World of Warcraft. Doesn't even post about that very much, though. That almost seems like that's a thing he keeps a little bit to himself now.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, what is it? One of my favorite Cannibal Corpse going viral moments was, I mean, obviously it's kind of a bummer how it went down, but which guitarist was it that their house got raided? It caught fire or something.
That was Pat O'Brien.
Pat O'Brien.
There are other people named Pat O'Brien who are famous, but
yeah,
this was the guitar player for Pat O'Brien, who apparently, from what I heard, he ended up breaking into somebody's house and he was acting all crazy and manic. And then when the police came and searched his house, they just found that he had a stockpile of weapons, which it's known that he was into guns and shit. And so that's, to be fair, if you're that into guns, it's only a matter of time before you snap. So, I mean, come on.
Well, where I was heading with that is that there was this meme going around. It's like, nobody expected this, and then it just like had like a Spotify playlist, and it had real songs in there, but it was
Yeah.
like it was like interspersed with like fake Cannibal Corpse song names that just give the game away. It's like, I have guns in my house for murder, hammer
Yeah.
smashed face,
Yeah.
strip raped and strangled. I have a house full of skulls, and then just like it just made me
Yeah.
laugh. Yeah, death metal's a funny genre, man.
Yeah, and an interesting genre too, and it's great because we're talking about Cannibal Corpse on an episode about Obituary, but they're connected, very connected for me, and connected in other ways too. Death metal is a genre where in around late 92, early 93 was when I was interested to death metal, and for a few years, I like the music that came out from the late 80s all the way up until maybe about 94 death metal wise. To me, I love all of that shit.
Hell
But
yeah.
as a genre, very quickly bands and other things started to fall off, whereas like you'd be hard pressed to find a death metal release over the past 25 years where you could play it for me and I'll go, oh, it's good. It's mostly like, it's fine. There are a few here and there that I like, but it's a genre that to me that kind of did all it was able to do. You know?
Yeah, it's, oh man, like the thing I love about death metal is the slow groovy shit, and
Yeah.
Obituary is probably like the band for stuff like that, because I feel
Totally.
like I haven't heard any other death metal band that or extreme metal band in general that we've covered play stuff as doomy and atmospheric as this stuff is, you know?
Yeah, and we're still talking about them as a death metal band, which once again goes to that argument that I made many, many times on many episodes of this show, where death metal in the early days, the bands that you think of that were the really big bands, Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Death, Deicide, fuck, I don't know, whoever else you want to throw in there, doesn't really matter.
Morbid Angel.
Morbid Angel's a good one too. They all sounded unique.
Yes.
They're vocally, they sounded different. The style of music they were doing wasn't just the same thing over and over again. And that's what I love about old school death metal. Now, death metal, like every fucking genre, has been fucking, it's almost like it's been, you put it through a strainer over and over and over again to while now there's just some sort of water flavored death metal that's kind of left. And it's like, there's no, bands are really afraid to do anything different. And not only that, the production of death metal has gotten so shitty, which is funny because some would say it sounded shitty back in the day because people didn't know how to handle the production style and there wasn't a lot of money. Now you have all this fucking technology in front of you, and what do? You want your fucking band to sound like you're literally sticking a pin in a fan. It's like, that's literally what fucking death metal is supposed to sound like, with some guy going underneath it. Like that
was a good one.
That's fucking stupid, and that's so easy to do. That's why that shit. That's why if you want to impress me as a death metal vocalist, let me see you do it with your mouth open wide, with the microphone about a foot away from your face. If you have to do anything else, if you have to put it really close, or you have to do this, then you are not a good death metal vocalist. I'll say it over and over again. There are some good death metal vocalists that do the close mic thing and the thing, but for the most part, it's already been done. So, hey, guys, if you're going to start a death metal band, try harder. Okay? there's that great video I saw. I posted it a long time ago on one of my socials where it's T-Pain, and T-Pain is losing his fucking mind listening to some music, and he's just like, do something different. Do something different. Yeah. Like he's just freaking, and I'm like, T-Pain, I fucking get it, man. Because because that's what's happening in music all over the world, all genres, everything. I mean, there's cool stuff, but man, there's a whole lot of samey, and everyone's just eats it up, especially in the metal community. Because if you're not samey, then you're not metal and you're not good enough. And so once again, as I always say, metal has been ruined by metal fans. But
if
two
you do
metal
something
fans,
different, you've sold out.
Yeah, which we'll get to that with this band. Although they didn't do anything different, but we won't get to that necessarily today because this is a two 6-parter Obituary ranking.
Yes.
Because they have 10 albums total, and we figured that we'll do 5 each on each episode, and it gives us time for our silly tangents that some people really love, and others, I'm sure they don't even fucking watch our shit anymore.
Others will have to sit by and wait their turn.
Yeah. And funny enough, before we started doing this, I used to do a series of videos called Albums Ranked. And the very last band I did was Obituary. And that was a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years ago. And then because it was right after that we started Cranked and Ranked. And so it'll be interesting to see, because I've gone through and I actually listened to the albums in the order that I ranked them to see if anything changed. So we'll see it. We'll see. But and the interesting thing, it's not interesting, it's funny and a little bit disheartening, is occasionally I get people that will comment and say, "Hey, do you do any band rankings anymore?" And I'm like, it's like, tell me you don't listen to my shit without telling me you don't listen to my shit or watch my shit. It's like, that's like every week. Yeah.
It's so like it's arguably the most like consistent show on the channel. It's like,
yeah. And it's so it's funny because I always like will post a link to something from Cranked and Ranked. And I think for some people they want things to be short form and just have one dude talking, but it's not interesting when it's just me talking. It's more interesting when it's a conversation, when it can be really drawn out, because a lot of these bands deserve our time. They've given us their time. So I like doing this a lot better.
If we listen to 40 minutes of their music, they have to listen to 2 hours and 20 minutes of us talk about tangents.
You know what we could do to piss everybody off is that we literally our discussion of an album has to be the length of the album.
Yeah. Just start rolling at like 6 a.m. It's like fucking midnight here.
And it's gonna be like, we're gonna be ranking Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is gonna be a 7-week podcast episode or whatever. Anyway,
at that point, just start a fucking Maiden podcast, man.
I'm sure there's one of those out there. Probably a lot of those out there.
They're one of those bands. They have to have quite a few. Gotta be.
But yeah, Obituary. And as usual, we can start things off by where Obituary came into our lives. And for me, they were the second death metal band I ever heard. I really thought about this because I wasn't sure how it happened, but I think I now got my memories together in my head. And so I think it was late 1992. And in late 1992, the first death metal song I ever heard was Hammer Smashed Face. By Cannibal Corpse. That was kind of my introduction to death metal. And then I remember probably around the same exact time, may have been like the day after, the week after, I don't know, but back in 1992, late 92, I was occasionally what you would refer to as a mall rat. Funny enough, I'm wearing my Berserker shirt from Clerks, which I just saw Clerks 3 in the theater. And so I don't know, are you a fan of any of that shit, Kevin Smith, or any of those movies?
Clerks is a movie series I have yet to sit down and watch.
Oh, okay, well then I won't talk about it then, that'll be an interesting to do a sidebar if you watch all 3 Clerks movies once they're all out to be streamed or whatever. Because effectively this movie is pretty, it may not be the end of the Clerks series, but if it is, it's very fitting that it's the ending. But anyway, this guy right here, and if you look, it says Berserker on it. There's a scene in Clerks where this guy's name is Olaf, and he's not even a character in the movie. He's in a scene for like a minute, and Jay's character is like, this is Olaf. He's from Russia. He wants to start a metal band. It's called Fuck You Yankee Blue Jeans or some shit like that. And then they ask him, they go, what's your, do one of your songs. And then his song is, my love for you is like a truck berserker. And that's, and it's this guy right here singing the song right there.
Awesome.
Would
I,
you like some making fuck berserker? Did he say making fuck?
yeah,
Anyway,
I need to see those movies, man.
now that I know you haven't seen them, I would love it if you would put some time away to like watch all three once you can, and then we talk about them, because it would literally be a discussion of somebody who has lived with Clerks in his life since it came out in the theater and has loved it and has been a big part of his life, and somebody who literally just watched all three of them. To me, that is the same thing as you coming to me and being like, I've never seen Star Wars, and be like, oh, watch them and then let's talk about them. Clerks is way more important to me than Star Wars, but some would say that Clerks wouldn't exist without Star Wars because they do a lot of Star Wars talk in the movies. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I was a mall rat. There's also a movie called Mallrats by Kevin Smith. And the mall that I hung out in was literally less than a mile from my house. Like I could walk there. And it was a great mall. I probably talked about it before in an episode. It had an arcade, a movie theater, an ice skating rink, record store, all the shit you would want. You know, at one point it even had one of these weird things where you could go in and you could record yourself doing a cover version of a popular song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Tenacious D.
yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And so we would hang out there occasionally, and I just in my memory, I remember sitting out front of the mall because my friends, as they would say, I got to go smoke a stogue, and that means go smoke a cigarette, because they were smokers. I was not a smoker. So we would like be in the mall, and then we would inevitably have to go outside so they could have a smoke. And I remember my friend saying, you know, check this fucking song out, and he puts, you know, the headphones on me, and I hear, shot to the arrow, feel the blood spill from your mouth. And I was just like, whoa, dude, this is fucking rad. And that was my introduction to Obituary. And I all of a sudden became a really big fan. Getting into Cannibal Corpse and Obituary like lit a fucking fire under me and my friends, where all of a sudden we wanted to get every death metal album we could, and we all wanted to be the first one to get it. So it was like we used to get together, all spending the night at each other's houses, and we would have a list going, and if you found a new death metal band that wasn't on your, oh fuck, I'm getting this first, nobody can get this before I get this. And like I was always the one that wasn't quick enough, except for Morbid Angel. Morbid Angel was mine. That was the one that I called, and I was like, no, I'm getting this band for you guys. But that's how excited we were about it. We were so just like stoked to like get the death metal t-shirts and get, you know, all the shit. And the best thing was like on the back of every death metal album, you had the band doing their poses on a fucking hilltop or whatever. And they would all be wearing shirts with band names, and you go, oh, I don't know that band. So you'd write down what you thought the band name said on their shirt, and then you'd go to the record store, and then you just blindly buy whatever the fuck it was because it looked like death metal, and you would get it. So anyway, Obituary, a very important band for me because they were kind of like the thing, you know, one of the bands that like pushed me in and said, you know, you're looking for the most extreme shit out there. Here's some of that. And I've been a fan of theirs ever since, mostly because I believe that John Tardy is one of the best death metal vocalists there is, just for the uniqueness of his voice, the recognizability, is that the right word, of his voice, where you hear him and you go, oh, it's fucking Obituary, it's John Tardy.
Yeah, definitely.
But also because they are a death metal band that isn't afraid to groove, and I like a little bit of groove. So long-winded story done. When did you get exposed to Obituary?
I've kind of this is one of those ones where it's like kind of uneventful, where I've kind of like drip fed songs I like into my liked songs over the years, you know. Yeah. This is probably probably one of the most anticlimactic stories I've ever told about getting into a band. But sometimes it just happens that way. You hear a song, oh, I like that one. You hear another song, I like that one. And then over the course of, oh, I like 10 songs from this band from all different albums. Maybe I should dive deep. And that's what we've done this week. So
we have. Well, let's do it. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. As usual, Mr. Eddie Sparxx leading the way with his by the way, we're doing number 10 down to number 5, just in case anybody is curious. So number 10, Obituary album.
Cool. So my number 10 Obituary album is Back from the Dead.
Okay.
So yeah, this album, I'm just gonna jump straight into the track by track.
This is 1997. Is this album?
This is the last album of their original 80s 90s run before they kind of went on a hiatus.
Yeah.
Threatening threatening
What?
skies. Yep.
Threatening.
Threatening skies is was a short opener. I mean, it's fun. By the Light is a heavy track. Inverted's got some groove riffage going on. Platonic Disease. Now here's the thing. This album is like missing the Scott Burns production heaviness I'd grown used to with their first four albums.
Yeah.
That said, there are cool riffs on this track and this album. Download is heavy. I like it. Rewind.
How many bands in the late 90s have a song called Download?
I was about to. It's like a premonition, isn't it? It's like this is gonna fuck shit up. Like, Feed on the Weak has some cool riffs in it.
That's a great one. Feed on the Weak.
Yeah,
and some of their song titles you can just hear it in John Tardy's voice.
Yeah. Oh man, Lockdown is cool. I mean, the song, not having to live through it.
Man, they were like ahead of their time. Download, Lockdown. They knew where shit was going.
Yeah. Oh, Pressure Point. It's got some slow, heavy stuff in it. Back from the Dead title track, cool, doomy closer. But then you've got Obituary, which is this fucking awesome rap metal track, and it's probably my favorite on the album. I have to be honest, because it's so different. But I'm gonna wrap up my opinion of this album with, I mean, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay. It's not got the greatest production, and the songs aren't as memorable as the albums that they'd had to that point.
Yeah.
For me, really, I mean, the further up my ranking list I go into more detail and depth with the songs. But I found myself listening to this album just kind of like, I don't really have anything to say. It's just, it's not bad. Yeah. It's all right.
To be honest, I like every one of their albums. Yeah. But I do have to admit that some of their shit is so samey with what they've already done. There's an example I'm going to come to in my ranking where two songs that start off two different albums are almost identical. And so I understand what you're saying. You get to a point where sometimes, like the latter half of this ranking for me, it's just like, I don't know, throw them in the air and let them fall, because there's a lot of like similar stuff, because they found what they did and they stuck to that. Like classic bands, Motorhead, the Ramones, AC/DC. Yeah, they found their sound and they stuck with it. So I have no problem with that.
There's no shame in it.
But when it comes to having an interesting discography, it really hurts your chances of me having a lot of interesting things to say.
Yeah. So like with that, Back from the Dead to me was the least interesting album in this list, because it was just like there are 5 albums in and the production on it is a letdown and the songs aren't all that memorable.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to you for your number 10.
Cool. My number 10. The production on Back from the Dead is way better than several albums they did for me. One of them being number 10, Darkest Day from 2009. Which is their 8th album, and they did 3 albums in particular where the quality of the production is for me is too weak to support their sound, and sometimes has an almost demo quality. Like when you hear some other band's demos, you're like, oh, this is the demo before they went into the studio. But they sometimes just went for that production. And a couple albums like this one, John Tardy's vocals, when they're dry, are not, they're good, but something is missing when you don't have like a cavernous
Three layers of
reverb.
delay and reverb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it just doesn't sound like the beast that he is. He sounds more like a little beast. Still a threatening beast, but a little one. But yeah, so Darkest Day just doesn't have the punch that it needs. The songs are there, and the dudes are still doing what they know how to do very well, as they've done on every album they've done. But at this point, it's like, well, what albums stand out? What albums have parts that stand out? And this one has the least amount of parts that stand out. And it's good on its own. That's the thing, is that with Obituary, they're like all those other bands I named, where if somebody says, do you want to listen to Obituary? I'd be like, sure. And they would say, do you have an album you want to listen to? I have them all. I'd be like, any album will do. Because they bring you exactly what you're wanting. Some are better, but it's not gonna ruin my time by playing Darkest Day, because I'm like, it's a fucking Obituary album. My biggest gripe with this one is that it's too fucking long. It's 52 minutes long, and I believe it's track number 8 that's called Contrast the Dead, is a 7-minute song that does not need to be 7 minutes long. But when that song is wrapping up, I'm like, it feels like this is supposed to be the end of the album. And then there's 3 more tracks. So it really sort of loses its momentum and then just starts dragging for 3 more songs. So while it does have its moments, like I wrote down, every album has that head nod shit. Like every fucking album has that shit. And so, in the podcast world, I was nodding my head as I was saying each syllable of those words.
As was I.
but yeah, this one is the weakest. And I brought up a term that I don't know if I'm the only one that uses it. Maybe I coined this term. I don't know. But I brought it up when we talked about Slayer way back in the day. And the term is called riff blur.
Yeah.
And riff blur is when you hear a riff and you go, did they already do this riff like on another album or on another song? And once you get into the 2000s with Obituary, riff blurs all over the fucking place. Because their shit, for the most part, is fairly simple compared to other death metal music. Now, I like what they do, but there is that point where some riffs, and as I'm going to point out later, 2 songs that sound so much alike that I'm like, did they not do they? Somebody needs to play those back to back for them so they know what they're doing. But yeah, there's a lot of riff blur, and so these bottom 3 especially, there's so much of that I just go, God, I can't. It's not anything that I'm ever gonna choose to listen to on my own. When it comes to Obituary. So yeah, Darkest Day ends up coming in last at number 10.
Cool. So that brings me to my number 9, which is Inked in Blood from 2014. Yeah, so this album, it's good, but I feel like it lacks some.
I just keep thinking you're gonna go, I mean, it's all right.
It's all right. I mean, I'm pretty much gonna do it for like this half of the ranking. That's it. I'm sticking to it. That's the running gag for this one. I mean, it's all right, but
the video will be over in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's good, but I feel like it to bring up your demo quality thing, like,
oh, this one for sure, yeah.
This one definitely, because it lacks the atmosphere present on other Obituary albums. Like, not to give too much of the game away, but stack this album next to the self-titled one that came after it. It's night and day.
Absolutely.
Like this sounds like what this could have sounded like, But so yeah. Anyway, I'm tumbling over my words. I'm going to go into my track by track. Centuries of Lies is this like quick blast of punky death. Yeah, I mean, they have this thing now where for like the last 5 albums they've like opened with a short blast of punky death metal. Like, okay,
so I'm gonna give you. Maybe you should do this right now, and then don't play it out loud, but the
live
song
reaction.
Play the first 30 seconds of Centuries of Lies from
Okay.
Inked in Blood.
Centuries of Lies.
Yeah.
Obituary song. I'm gonna turn down the
Just play the
thing.
first 30 seconds. I'll wait. Everybody wait. Grab a drink. Eddie is right now listening to the beginning of Centuries of Lies from Inked in Blood. Thank you for your patience as we get through this important portion of our program. Here is some tones.
Okay.
Oh. All right, now, and I think you'll have to go to YouTube for this, but now listen to the first song from Executioner's Return, which is called Face Your God.
Okay. Face Your God. Obituary.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
It's so true. like literally in the first like 4 bars of the song.
Yeah. To the point where, because Executioner's Return is not on Apple Music. So like I was just doing my like review stuff, and I remember going there because I don't have, that physical copy of Executioner's Return. And so I started playing it. I'm like, did they put the wrong album up here? No. It's an almost identical song. Same like tempo, same notes,
same tuning. Yeah, like
well, yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything is identical apart from the power chords they used. Like everything else, yeah, that's definitely riff blur. Definitely riff blur.
It's
for sure.
It was crazy how much I thought it was the wrong album that was uploaded to YouTube. Anyway, so that was a nice little experiment, but that is what you're dealing with. As much as I love Obituary, if the guys aren't watching this, but if they are, mad respect, as they say, to you guys for being old school death metal and sticking to your guns, and I still enjoy everything you do today. But when you stick so close to shit, everything, and as I've learned from most metal fans, they don't fucking care anyway. So it's just like, whatever, keep doing what you're doing, because the metal community are very boring. So yeah, except for us, like we're part of the metal community. We're like on the fringe of the metal community, where we're kind of like
functioning people.
I would say that we're more like the, what do you call those, the people that like the not the elders, because we're not, I wouldn't call us, either one of us, that, but like you have a group of people that are just like running amok doing whatever, and then you have the ones on the outside that are looking in, that are interested in what's going on, but they're trying to find ways to make it better. I feel like that's us.
The council, yes.
And everyone's ignoring us, but we're still on the outside going like, they're not listening. They're running around, going crazy, and we're on the outside. It's like me at a fucking concert. There's the whole group of kids right in front of me. They're like, rah, 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 and I'm all like, well, I'm watching the fucking band because that's what I paid to do.
Dude, have you ever seen that like meme template that's like a comic strip, and it said they hated Jesus because he told them the truth, and it's like you can just put anything there and like follow it up with they hated him for he told the truth.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's
but yeah, it's like one of those things where like I feel like most things in my life, it's really difficult being in the middle, which is where I feel like I am a lot of times, because I am the person that says, come on, man, try something different, stretch out your sound, surprise us. But at the same time, I hear a band like Obituary and I go, I'm perfectly fine with them not doing that. But when it comes to something like this, I would be remiss, as if that's the right term, to not point out how some of their shit is shockingly similar to shit that they already did. So anyway, that was fun.
And I mean, that's all right.
Yep.
But yeah, where was I? Oh, we only got to Centuries of Lies. Okay.
Centuries of Lies. I mean, Face Your God. I mean, whatever.
Violent by Nature. I mean,
Not because I hate
also,
you. I'm
it's,
naughty. I'm
that's,
naughty by nature. They're violent by nature.
it's here's the thing. Like we said, like we spent that last 5 to 10 minutes explaining. This is awesome stuff,
Yeah.
but it's being done. At this point, Pain Inside, Obituary still doing what they do best. Visions in My Head, awesome song. Back on Top, groovy fucker, me likey. Violence. I'm just rattling it off.
Yeah.
Violence, fun, short song. Inked in Blood is this gnarly, slow one. Title track, by the way. Deny You is this dirgy chugger. Within a Dying Breed, slow groove, fast double kick, reverb heavy toms in the outro. That's my fuck yeah moment on this album, because
Yeah.
I'm going to say this a lot and probably multiple times per album. Slow grooves with fast double kick are the best grooves. And Obituary do that best. Yeah, it's just satisfying as fuck to not only listen to, but play as a drummer. So when I hear something, I'm like, I can play a fucking AC/DC beat while my feet are doing machine gun shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Minds of the World, groovy ass death metal. Out of Blood, tasty ride cymbal placements in there. I love whenever they like switch over, ping, ding, 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 like that sort of thing. Absolutely brilliant. Paralyzed with Fear is this up tempo closer. I mean, it's all right. Like I said, it lacks atmosphere. This album really does. It's very dry sounding, and I don't think it does the music justice. So yeah,
cool.
Back to you.
I have similar things to say about my number 9, which is Executioner's Return, which begins with the song Face Your God, which sounds like Centuries of Lies. Anyway, Executioner's Return also suffers from weak production, in my opinion, but it is better than Darkest Day, in my opinion. This is their 7th album. So I really don't have much to say about this because, like I said, the shit all kind of runs together. There is a definite
number 8, so we can just
all right. So yeah, Executioner's Return. There's a definite energy to this album, and once again, it's Obituary doing Obituary, and they know how to do it. And let's also throw them another kudos, which is the sound that Obituary do. No other band can do it right.
No, for sure.
Like, so that's the thing. So I almost feel like because there are no other bands that can nail this sound, then sure, they should stick with it. And and I plan on in November, Obituary's coming through here through Houston. Cool. With Carcass. I think Monomarth is the headlining band, which means I'll check out 2 songs and go home. But I'll go check them out because I love Carcass, so definitely I'm going. But Obituary, like, I just love the vibe of their sound. So I don't really care. I don't care what songs they play when I go see them live. Because like I said, with Obituary, any album will do. And
you just know that's going to be one of those shows where you get mistaken for being in a Monomarth. like,
oh, you know what I should do? I'm going to go to that show and I'm going to fake like a Swedish accent like the whole time. Because nobody knows. I mean, there's probably maybe a few people that know me from YouTube, but that's probably pretty rare. But I don't ever go places in Houston, and so nobody knows who I am. So I probably could just walk around and be like, "Those are my cousins," or whatever,
This is what John Tardy goes. Hey, shout out to Old Head. Fuck the guy from Acid Rain. And it's like,
that's that. If it were, man, if the world worked perfectly for me, it would be it would be Jeff Walker from Carcass who was giving me a shout out from the stage. But I'd take one from John Tardy too. but that's a good idea. I'm just going to pretend to be somebody from the Amon Amarth camp, and just maybe I'll be able to like get backstage, and then I'll oh that would be really cool. Then I'll pretend that I'm really into Amon Amarth, but I'm not really, and then I'll like become really good friends with them, and then like it'll be like I'll catfish them essentially. I have no idea. They're not gonna. They probably won't even give a shit. I'll show up and be like, another bearded guy. Too many of us. Man. That's not the best Swedish accent ever, but sounds more like Arnold. He's from
no.
Where is he from? He's from Austria, I believe, which is not Sweden. So apparently, I need to find a band from. I need to find a band from Austria, and so I can pretend to be one of them because I am okay at doing this accent. I think. I don't know.
Oh god.
Anyway, the point I was trying to make is that with all my gripes about like I have nothing more to say about Executioner's Return, so I'll throw it over to you. But at the same time, I'm like, I love what they do. They're the only band that can do it. So when they come to town, I'm gonna go fucking see them because I'm all like, nobody else does this shit. I love how they do it. So, you know.
I would put it down to I feel like Obituary are the Black Sabbath of death metal. Hear me out.
Okay.
Not because they're necessarily the first to do it, but because they're so groove and riff focused compared to other, you know, there are Obituary riffs that I could hear Tony Iommi playing.
Oh
whereas like, you know, say for example, bands that do more of the stuff. Like you're not gonna get that vibe. Whereas like stuff on here is like feels like what it would sound like if Tony Iommi formed a death metal band, you know, as absurd and alternate reality as that might seem in our realm.
That does make sense because Black Sabbath was a band that had a lot of groove. And had a lot of down-tuned, you know, riffs and stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of fascinated. Has Obituary ever done a Black Sabbath cover? Because I feel like they could pull one off.
They totally could. And like, listen to something like Cornucopia from like Volume 4, like down, down, no, 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 like that sort of thing. Like I hear that in the intro to Infected, like it has that. Like it has that doom vibe to it, but they never. That's the thing. They're not a doom metal band, but they have the atmosphere there, and they have the fuzzy guitar of that sort of thing. But they play it's almost like they've got one genre's rig and another genre's songwriting, and they're just doing both at the same time. Which, you know, guitar tone wise, probably my favorite death metal band. Like the riffs in this band, holy shit. But yeah, like I was saying, back to Executioner's Return.
Your number's 8.
Number 8, yeah. So Centuries of Lies. I mean, Face Your God is a skanky, thrashy death opener. It's, you know, it does its job. Lasting Presence is another fast one. Evil Ways was the point in the album where I thought, here we go. Here's some mid-tempo Obituary goodness. Drop Dead, Triplet Field Double Kick, yes please. Bloodshot is this slow, sludgy, groovy one. Steal Your Fate, we're back in kind of the Slayer worship zone with the speed. Feel the Pain, there's some doom thrown into the mix. Contrast the Dead, some more crushing slow shizzle. Second Chance, some heavy ass shit. Lies is this upbeat double kickage, and In Your Head is this
I like
crushing
double kickage.
Double kickage, hell yeah! That's a new Eddie Sparxx slang term we're adding to the. I'll have to do like my own grunge speak, like slang thing. You remember that, like, see you on the flip flop thing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do my own version of that. All it would take is me just like going through a thing of my notes and being like, none of these are real words. uh, um, but yeah, in your head is this like crushing closer. It's a, I mean, it's all right. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Um, no Obituary album isn't good. They're just varying degrees of good. Some happen to
Yeah.
be fucking amazing,
Yeah.
which, leaves these less remarkable albums lower down.
Yeah. And honestly, I only have one more that I would call less remarkable for my number 8, which you already talked about, which is Inked in Blood from 2014.
Hmm.
Um, it's their ninth album, and it was actually crowdfunded via Kickstarter, which like that's a
Hmm.
thing that I remember for a while. You saw that a lot, and now like, does anybody do that anymore? Does anybody crowdfund albums anymore? I haven't seen it in forever.
It's funny. One of my favorite YouTubers ever, iDubbbz, used to do a series called Kickstarter Crap, where he would pick like a really bad, fraudulent like Kickstarter project a week, and he'd just fucking tear it to shreds.
Oh
And it
my
was like,
god, that's awful.
yeah, it's
And
hilarious.
great, but also awful.
Yeah, yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, a lot of the humor he probably wouldn't get away with now because it was like 2016 peak edgy humor. But yeah, I mean, it is a time capsule of just shitty Kickstarters getting ripped
Yeah.
to fucking pieces. But yeah, I mean, he was a big influence on why I started doing this. But yeah, with that, where was I? I've wrapped up
Oh,
Executioner's Return.
I had started Inked in Blood, but
Oh yeah, sorry,
I was
sorry,
talking
yeah.
about if people do Kickstarter anymore. Now that you mentioned it, though, an interesting thing, because you were talking about influence on your videos. Just randomly last night, I was like on YouTube, and I watched on your page what is your very first like actual video,
Yeah,
which is Glam versus Thrash,
yeah.
and I have
Technically
to
not the first,
well the first
but
one that's on
yeah,
your up there.
yeah.
And I have to say something because I know this is you're going to hear like a different part of the episode right now, where this is normally something I probably say to Eddie, not on an episode, but since it came up, because I know sometimes you're like the videos that you did a lot of times like so much work went into them because of so much editing with not only green
Yeah.
screen effects but then like sound stuff like music and clips and all this other shit that you would do. And I was watching it and I was like, you know what? I like all the different clips and the different things, but the thing that I love about that particular video and the early ones that you did, if you were going to make a graph, like a pie chart, the majority of the pie chart of why it's enjoyable is literally you sitting behind your drum kit talking and occasionally editing in like goofs, just like leaving in the
Yeah.
goofs. Like that's it. So like literally, if you were in front of a wall that just had posters and you never did any fucking green screen or any clips or whatever, I'm like, that's enjoyable enough right there. You don't even need to worry about that shit.
I think what I'll probably end up doing going forward, just like as a quick thing, I have been you know, arranging a setup, so to speak.
Yeah.
All the stuff is there. There's a box light up here. There's
Oh,
a
I see that. Yeah.
obviously a green screen.
But yeah,
And
I think it's because like the way that that video looks, like nobody does that. There's no drummer behind his kit being humorous, talking about music, and so I think that's such a unique thing. I'm all like, you don't worry about all that other shit that makes editing a 10-minute video a week long affair.
Here's
Yeah,
here's another piece of the setup.
yeah,
It's a work in progress, and I am now committing. I mean, as we've seen, uh, I have a new video coming up in about 2 days from when this goes up.
yeah. It'll be Friday. It'll be
So,
Friday.
and I'm having a lot of fun with the what is it called? Tracklist tournament series that I've started
Yep,
doing.
yep.
Something that was the most time consuming that I'm trying to get back into is writing the damn videos, because that's a whole other thing. I do my
Yeah,
research. I do notes. I kind of paraphrase things I've read and try to inject a few goofs. But like, I think what I'm going to do going forward with the green screen is coming back because I haven't got it sat back there for nothing.
Sure.
What I'm gonna probably end up doing is probably just have like live footage of whatever band I'm talking about
Yeah.
back there as a cool like visual thing with
Yeah.
the odd meme put in its place. But
And that's all you need to do, because it's like if you
yeah,
find what I know, because I've gone through that with my videos where I've done some where it takes so much editing, but then I've found other ones that I start doing that are so easy to do but so much fun, and I'm just like, well, that's especially if people react to them in a good way, then it's like that's all you got to do. I know
yeah.
this is totally derailing us, but I sometimes I feel like you do need a little bit of encouragement, and I just wanted to let you know that like all that other shit is not important because you're the product and you're the thing that's entertaining to watch. So
I feel like I have gotten better talking to the camera. I think the podcast did a lot for, my
oh, me too.
speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I'll probably like, like there's a comment recently on one of my videos that says something like, this is like a methadone cranked and ranked. More of these, please. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'll make more tracklist tournament. I mean, I'm basically playing a game with myself in those videos. So it's just
So
fun
if
to
you want
do.
to see videos of Eddie playing with himself, go watch
Go
his
check out my
channel.
OnlyFans.
um, okay. Anyway, back to Inked in Blood.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was crowdfunded, which is a thing you don't see a lot anymore. But this one, it once again we talked about the demo quality of the production, and I mostly just don't like that the vocals are so dry because it sounds sometimes the it almost feels like he's when they recorded John Tardy's vocals, there's like a pillow in front of him. And so
Hmm.
sometimes he sings and you can't really get all the syllables. You're like, why does it sound so
Yeah,
muffled? And so I'm just like, yeah, that's they could have done a lot better with that. Um,
for sure.
it's got its enjoyable moments. It's definitely not a go-to, and it's the last one of the ones where I'm like, these are ones that I would not really recommend to people who were new to Obituary. Um, but it's got plenty of cool moments on it, and the one thing that's clear on all these albums is that they're they still have the ability to do this shit and it sounds good and they're still in a league of their own. And so, what can you say? But from I think that above this, they're all albums that I think have a lot of positive qualities. So let's move on to your number 7.
Cool. So my number 7 is one second. My number 7 is Darkest Day.
Okay.
Um, to me, I suppose I feel like I preferred some of this production as opposed to Executioner's Return.
Uh,
Um, but I'm just going to jump straight in because I have a lot of the same to say about Darkest Day as I did Executioner. So, List of Dead is this fast, thrashing blast of brutality. Blood to Give is this grooving riffer. Lost Inside, there's that grooving kick in there that I love so much. Outside My Head, yes, yes, rock, yes. Uh, Payback is hardcore beatdown riffage, I'll admit, is a yes from me. Um, there's an
do,
album with a lot of that later down the line that
do,
I
do,
will.
do you get that thing where like some song titles are used a lot,
Yeah,
and there's one song in particular that has that song title that will always eclipse all others, not necessarily even because it's better, but because it has a
Payback's a bitch,
more
motherfucker.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you say Payback and I hear in my head Payback's a bitch motherfucker, and then earlier there was a
Yeah.
song on the last one that's called Feel the Pain, and to me that's a fucking Dinosaur Jr. song. So I start hearing a Feel the Pain of Everyone, and I'm just like, oh, that's a good song. Well, we're talking about
Yeah.
Obituary.
Feel the pain of everyone.
They can do a version of
Uh,
that one, sure.
totally. I'd be down. Do you know what? Let's fucking crowdfund uh, an Obituary covers album where they do exclusively songs from genres that aren't metal.
Okay.
Yeah. baby got back. Yeah,
did you imagine that? No, see that that just came off the top of your head. I feel like, but like now that I'm thinking about it, imagine like their guitars dun 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 dun. Why hasn't anybody done that yet?
Damn,
like, yeah,
that's a suggestion, man.
I like big butts and a grand liar.
That's fucking brilliant.
It wasn't that good. I can't. Nobody can do John Tardy. That's the thing. Is it you?
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped turned upside down. Oh man.
All right, well, now, everybody, we'll just somebody start that Kickstarter, and we can't do it because we have no connection to Obituary whatsoever. Somebody in the Obituary camp,
we might after this. Like, who knows?
I would only hope. That's the one. Every time I put out a video, I'm like, oh, I hope the band sees it. Most of the time they don't. Sometimes they do, but very rare.
I could legitimately become addicted to doing a John Tardy impression and likely ruining my fucking throat for the rest of my life, but all of the jokes will be worth it. Yeah, voice crack right there. Oh yeah, last time, did you keep it in the episode? Because I didn't check.
I edited it out. I sent Eddie a clip because when I'm editing the podcast, it's real easy to like, especially on the podcast, because I know that you people in the podcast world are just listening to this sometimes just in your headphones. So like if there's like coughs or sneezes or weird noises that I know that it takes away from it. So I always like find those little areas where I go, what's that noise right there? And it's like, I'm talking, but if you mute me, you just hear Eddie and it's like a,
yeah, for some reason I think I burped, but it came up in a way that was strange, and I just like went
because I played it again to see if like maybe you were reacting to something I said and that your voice cracked or something, but no, it was nothing. I was in the middle of me talking and it's just like a little
yes.
I didn't keep it in there because it's not important, but it was important enough for me to share it with you and be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it was the spirit of Michael Jackson possessing me. Didn't know it.
That's scary because that could happen.
Yeah, that goes totally good.
Ghosts are real.
Ghosts are real. All right, where was I?
I don't know.
Payback. Your Darkest Day. Dirgy slowness. This Life's got some yummy grooves in it. See Me Now, one of the faster ones with a nasty halftime bit in there. Fields of Pain, heavy groover. Violent Dreams is a musical speed run, clocking in at less than 2 minutes long. Truth Be Told, awesome heavy stuff.
Truth Be Told, that's a Megadeth song. So that's the first thing I hear is that song.
And Left to Die is this long crushing closer, and it's still, I mean, it's all right.
Jesus. I'm going to edit this down to just that and put it on TikTok where it's like Obituary ranking and it's just Eddie going, it's all right.
And the funny thing is, this is like, it's the bottom half of one of my favorite extreme metal bands. So episode 2, it's going to be a love fest. I'm going to be like, these 5 albums any day of the fucking week, please.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
This is a side effect of stylistically sticking to your guns, is that you end up with a wad of albums that are a lot more memorable than another wad. And so now I've shot my wad on Darkest Day. Yeah,
I'm not cleaning that up. We
just missed.
We're on to my number 7, which is the self-titled Obituary album from 2017, which if you look behind me is one of the only 2 I own on vinyl, because a lot of their shit's kind of expensive. And
Well, it's 90s era mostly, isn't it? Like
yeah, so like even
that
the
kind of.
even the Cause of Death that I have behind me, that's a European version, and it still cost me, I think, $80 to get it, and it's from '92. But I
Damn,
love that
dude.
album. I won't
Worth
talk
it.
about that today.
No,
But
no.
the self-titled Obituary album, which is the last one they did, it's their 10th album. It to me is really good, and 10 tracks, 33 minutes. Come on,
Yes.
that's how you fucking do it. And
Tried and true method.
it's got a much heavier and fuller production style, and it's also got a little bit of a rough edge to it, which is what I like about a lot of the older death metal albums. Is that sure they're well produced, but even like all the Scott Burns stuff, there was a level of like rough around the edges to what he did, and I really
Yeah.
like that, and I think it really benefits the music, or the music benefits from that. And there's a lot of energy on this album. The thing that I love the most about this particular album is that this far into their career, on their 10th album, they've made an album that in many ways is a perfect introduction to this band.
Yes.
Like it's well done and well presented in the way that if somebody said, I'm looking to get into Obituary, I'd be like, I'll just start with the latest one, because it's just like they just fucking perfectly did what they do. And if you're
Yeah.
into this, go listen to anything else and you'll be into it. And just the fact that they managed to do that this far along, it's because they fucking mastered what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, very strong album. Still Obituary doing what nobody else can do. An interesting thing on this album that I really like, and I don't know if it's been done other times on their albums because I don't remember it, but the song Betrayed, the verses are in a major key.
I got the exact same note. I really want to let's camp out here for a minute.
Yeah,
It's like
because then on the chorus it switches to a minor key, but I'm all like, that's so weird, like this heavy riff that's a major key riff.
yeah. And like it kind of reminds me of Sepultura a little bit, that they would do some parts that you wouldn't normally hear in a heavy riff,
Yeah.
but would technically fall under a like major scale or something.
For those of you who are like, we're just saying words that you don't get, and which is perfectly fine. Not knowing musical technical terms is fine because there's a shitload I don't know. But major key in layman's terms is like happy sounding. So
Yeah.
you have some notes that sound very evil and very like, or sad, whereas major key stuff always sounds uplifting and happy because the notes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. I don't know how you discover these particular notes that to our ears and our brain sound positive. It's so
Hmm.
weird, such a weird concept. But
It's strange, but it's one of those. I mean, you know, to me, this shit's the closest thing the human race has got to magic. Like some of this stuff, and I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny.
music is magic.
I genuinely think that, because some of this stuff, I mean, we can't explain. We just fucking like it, and
Well,
it's
there's
like,
that's the thing is that I think you've pretty much nailed why people like you and me are obsessed with music,
yeah,
because any other thing that you think about, there's a level of human explanation. Like if you're really into movies, it's like, well, you're watching people act like people, and you're watching people that have edited movies
hmm,
in a certain way or put, you know, certain types of costumes made by people. And here's what creates this movie. And people are really crazy about movies. But when it comes to music, if you really want to take it down to what it actually is, it comes to like things in the air.
yeah, it's wavy air that makes you feel stuff
And
like
it's like
emotions and shit.
yeah. I mean, obviously take vocals aside, because vocals is like, obviously words, and we understand that. But even like singing notes and why
Hmm.
those notes go over this, or why a particular style of vocal sounds good over this, it's just one of those things. It's like an amazing thing. It's an amazing gift that we're given. And if you're a religious person, maybe it's a gift from your deity or whatever, whoever created
Hmm.
everything. But it's just one of those things where like that right there is like, well, yeah, that's why I'm so obsessed with music, because music is a thing that if you really drill down to it, it's hard to explain what actually makes it up. And then on top of that, it has these weird qualities on top of things like movies and books and other stuff. where it has this ability to make you feel something. And sometimes it literally can make you feel a particular time in your life. And
Yeah.
that's like amazing. All by these things that are just these notes, or not even notes, because we had to put the name note on what those things were. So eventually, so one dude back in the day made some sound and it made a tone. Then they had to call that a tone. Who the fuck? That's the thing that blows my mind. Do you ever start to think about words and the how words came about? Because if you think about it, like how did this become this? Who was the first person to say that, and why did everybody agree that that was the thing? That
AirPod.
Oh. that's a little bit. I'm talking about way back. Like
I know.
Like a word like sound. The word sound. Why does a sound mean a sound? Why does that sound mean what? Why does saying sound? Why does that sound equal the sound that you're talking about? What? Like, so that's why I'm saying, like, our evolution as a species, like, you could say what you want. There are people out there that are completely unevolved and are ruining everything for the rest of us. But if you really think about where we've come from, crawling out of the fucking ocean, and then eventually two random dudes are just talking about music and like, but they had to start with some guy going, oh, that's a sound. Well, no, he probably didn't. I don't know where it started from. Sound. Why is that? I'm gonna fucking kill myself right now.
Who would have thought? Like, who would have thought it would be Obituary to make us go all deep and philosophical? Like, this is the band that goes chopped in half. Feel the blood spill through your mouth.
But like, what a more perfect example of a thing where it sounds a certain way, where some person could listen to this and go, that's just a bunch of fucking noise. And other of us go, you're not hearing all of the great shit that's inside of this and what makes this up. And it's one of those things where we had to evolve to this point where, because imagine, like, I don't know, back in the day, like just some random singer in the 1800s or 1700s or even earlier, and you're like, oh, one day people are going to pay money to see somebody go and like, and they'd probably be like, no fucking way. I'm like, well, yeah, that's, and say what you will, that is an evolution of like music just branching out in all these crazy ways. And God, it's amazing. Music is amazing. Thank you all for being here for this this revelation or whatever. It's like
you just know, like, the stoner fans that we have are just like,
they're like, man. Sure, God's all powerful, but does he have lips? Whoa. Call back to Alice in Chains from last week.
Yeah. Wow. Well, with funny actually, because what is it? Your number 7 is the self-titled Obituary album.
Yes. So you're number 6. Wait, were we still? Am I still on? Oh, I'm done. I'm done with self-titled album. We can move on to number 6.
I'm actually surprised it wasn't higher. Personally, but for me, I'm gonna kind of give my number 5 away by saying my number 6 and my number 5 could change any day of the week.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Kind of a spoiler alert for next time, but we're not Stranger Things. We're cranked and ranked. So
and in our show, Eddie doesn't die.
Yes.
Well, not yet. Not yet. Anyway, not for a very, very long time, and he's not going to be. Oh wait, have you watched? Have you watched that season yet? What did I do? What did I just do? Erase that from your mind.
To be fair,
he may not be dead.
To be fair, that plot point was already spoiled for me.
How far are you into Stranger Things now?
Motherfucker, I told my nan.
I know. Get on whatever she's on.
Yeah, she watched the entire series in like 3 days, and I thought, oh Jesus Christ, my binge watching.
So where are you? I know you were on. You at least watched season 2, right?
Yeah, I'm in the first couple episodes of season 3. I think I'm on episode 3 of season 3.
Okay, season 3 is fucking great. Season 4 is fucking great.
I have spent the last 4 months binging through whatever episodes of Metal Up Your Podcast I haven't listened to while playing Sniper Elite 5. And I can
Oh,
safely say
so you're
I have
wasting your time, is what you say you're doing.
wasting my time getting all the secret items and the longest shots possible. Yes.
And don't give those other guys your streaming hours. They're people talking. We could literally do a better Metallica podcast than those guys do. All right, I've heard them. They're fine.
They get really good though. Like,
are they as fun as we are though?
They're pretty good. I'd say they're about 90% of the way to get into us. Even though
you'll get there, guys.
They do like competitions and giveaways, and we just like roast people in the comments.
Well, we don't have any way to do that because I think they've got the numbers where I'm pretty sure they have sponsors and they have ways to do shit.
Well, they do. Well, actually, they do all of their stuff through Patreon. So we need to do that. We need to.
Well, here's the thing: if we do Patreon, Peanut Butter Platypus is out there. If we did a Patreon, my question is first for the Peanut Butter Platypuses, would you pay for a Cranked and Ranked Patreon? Number two, my question is for Eddie Sparxx. Are you going to put in the extra time with me to do extra content for the Patreon?
And here is where it comes in, because I am proposing that we start a band called the Peanut Butter Platypuses.
What does that have to do with Patreon?
Well, here's the thing, right?
We're going to be auditioning our bass players.
That is
Patreon.
Well, you know, Metal Up Your Podcast, they do these cover EPs where they reimagine Metallica songs in like different styles. So like one of them does them in like
there's that one guy that does like, here's a certain band doing a certain song, and I hate his fucking face. I hate his face. His face shows up on I've literally gone to YouTube and said hide this channel because I hate seeing that guy's face. I hate it.
You're tearing down networking, dude. We're gonna put a big old beep over whatever he just said.
I didn't say what their name was. There are people that do versions of songs in different voices and stuff, but it's not. It's just because it's so, to me, it's so like, man, you seem so talented. Do something better with your time.
Well, they are touring musicians as well, but I'm
not talking about Metal Up Your Podcast. I know those guys.
Okay.
Are great. Okay. I was talking about the guy that does the cover versions of songs, but no. The question was, do you? This is a serious question. We're having a meeting right now on Cranked and Ranked about Cranked and Ranked for the Cranked and Rankters, Peanut Butter Platypuses to hear.
Yes.
Would you want to do a Cranked and Ranked Patreon? Obviously, separately, we could do little things, little videos to upload to it. But I think that as a unit, we would want to do extra things, because you can't just be like, here, pay for us, and then go watch our shit on YouTube. We gotta do special shit for the special peoples.
Well, that's the thing. I was thinking we could perhaps do the, you know, write some songs, do some cool shit.
We can do that. Yeah, I'm down for whatever. We just have to make it a regular thing, because I don't want people to be sending us money and then we're like, once a month we put something out and it's just us in our rooms going, "Hey dudes, later."
Okay.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Marinate on that a little bit, because
I'm marinating, dude.
We'll get feedback from the people out there and like, well, would you pay? Because I don't know, I wouldn't be comfortable with charging any more than like $5 a month, maybe even less. Fuck, I don't know, depending on what we do.
Well, that would be the thing. We do like an EP or something. We'll do like a hip hop album where we like sample glam bands.
I love how you're on the music tip of what we would give everybody, which is fine. I would do that. I'd be down to do that. We'll talk about it further. I've completely derailed-ish, but that's on the table. I've thought about doing a Patreon in general, but the thing I run into is like, I don't know if I can keep up with giving extra content with, you know, I feel like something every week should be out if you're doing a Patreon, if not more.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. Yeah, we'll have to.
We'll circle back to that. So just everybody stay tuned, but also put in, send me an email, oldheadpodcast@gmail.com, if you'd be down to pay for a Patreon where we do extra shit. And then on YouTube, put a comment down below. Would you be interested? And so, and back to Obituary.
Yes.
Number 6. Oh, wait. Sorry, you didn't even say what your number 6 was yet, did you?
No, and okay. I just had a really good idea, and I thought I'd tell you right now, and we can edit this out.
No,
I thought
no.
Okay.
What
if we do?
Okay.
What if we do like a Cranked and Ranked Reloaded, where we go back to, like, this is an exclusive series where we go back to our episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen back through them and see if our rankings have changed.
Okay, that's and it's an additional a lot of time we would be dealing with there on top of the other rankings that we're doing. So yeah, that is a thing we could do.
It could be like a little more casual, off the cuff to reassess our thing. We don't necessarily have to like hear all the albums, but like just be like, maybe that one can go a little higher. I mean, it's all right.
It's a definite. We'll just do that. It's going to be the two of us, and like, here's a new ranking we're going to do. Whoa! I mean, it's all right.
Yeah.
Something about the biggest.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit. Cool.
Could be.
Pow! Back in the fucking zone.
Yes.
Yes. So my number 5 and 6 could swap any day of the week.
Gotcha.
And those two albums are Frozen in Time and the self-titled Obituary album from 2017.
Got it.
Instinctively, after today listening to that Obituary self-titled one again, I have put it higher. So my number 6 is Frozen in Time.
The last produced by Mr. Scott Burns, and I think the last album he ever produced. I don't think he's done anything since then.
Wow.
I think he came out of retirement to do Frozen in Time, and then I don't think he's done anything else. Yeah.
Damn, dude. I mean, this album, for something that came out in 2005, and an era notorious for kind of shitty metal production, I mean, this is a good album, dude. Like,
yeah.
Fuck. Opening up with Redneck Stomp, I mean, the fucking awesome riffing intro, simple but effective hardcore-esque groove riffage. I mean, I'd enter the ring to this shit. And I'm not even a professional fighter, but I feel like it would give me at least a chance. 1 in a million. So you're telling me there's a chance. But yeah, On the Floor has some Sepultura coursing through its veins. I'm also stoked at the tasteful usage of space in the music on this album.
Yeah.
Reverb in the right places is Scott Burns' kind of deal. Insane. My God, John Tardy's vocals are ace, dude. Like, I've already said it before on here, I'll say it again. I would exclusively communicate through growling if I had his voice. Back Inside is a staple of what I love about this band, and their usage of double kicks at slower tempos. Mindset's fucking crushing, dude. The breakdown riffage at the halfway mark with the ping ding 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 ting ding 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 ping ding ding. Like, I love that ride cymbal work.
Yeah.
That is a hell yes from me. Standalone thrashes things up a bit. Slow Death, verbed out toms sound ace. Denied is another heavy one. Denied. Lockjaw, one last gnarly song to close out on. Closing riffage is banging. And it's a short but sweet, grooved out riff fest. Doesn't outstay its welcome. Batters you with filth for 35 minutes and then fucks back off.
Yeah.
Like, it's a damn good offering from, a band coming back. It's their first one back. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. It's not my number 6. My number 6 is, I believe this was your number 10, Back from the Dead from 1997.
Okay.
Their 5th album, like you said, first without Scott Burns behind the boards. I like this album a lot. it's a good album, but to me, like sometimes I listen to it and I hear little things where I go, it seems like they had kind of come to the end and needed a little break
Yeah.
because there is a progression, not to give anything away, from their first album up to World Demise, where I think that they were just up one upping themselves every time. And then Back from the Dead's the first one where I go, they kind of laid back a little bit and didn't really push things forward and just did Obituary. Um, so it's a little bit of treading water, but something about it is still very enjoyable for me. There's a lot of great riffs on this album, and I like the production on it, even though it's not as good as some of their stuff. I especially like I mean the so I think vocally speaking is probably where I'm mostly happy because when the vocals are dry or not done very well, it kind of annoys me. But I will say on Back from the Dead, occasionally the drums don't sound that great on this album.
It feels a bit thin to my ears as well,
Yeah,
compared to something like World Demise that came before it. It's just so thick and chunky. And
fuck,
then,
don't even get me started on that one. But I mean, next time I will. There's great tracks on here, but yeah, the progression seemed to have been over. And the weird thing is that every time I hear this album, I can't not think about, well, the guys kind of took a break after this, but what if they had just called it quits? Like, what if this was the last Obituary album? And thinking about it that way, I go, well, this would have been a perfectly fine closer because it's almost kind of like, it's not necessarily going back to what they did on their first album, but it's like it's got more of a we're just doing Obituary kind of to put a button at the end of things. Like here's the punctuation mark at the end of our career. And I kind of like that about it. But of course they got back together and did several more albums. But I think all the other albums that they did, which if I'm thinking right, I ended up putting all the Scott Burns produced albums all at the top. But there's a reason for that. I feel like I'm going to save my Scott Burns rant for next time, which I probably did a similar rant on our Cannibal Corpse ranking. But
so your bottom half is literally just Obituary, sans Scott Burns, and your top half is Obituary with Scott Burns. It's just the sixth member.
He's a very important figure in the original death metal scene, especially Florida death metal, which these guys are from Florida. Which is another thing that's always blown me away is that like there's a scene of this really gruesome heavy music that's known for coming from a place that when you say the word Florida, you think of beaches and sun, people in bikinis, girls in bikinis, boys on surfboards.
And Florida man commits this crime.
that was a little rock lobster for those of you who didn't know that I just did.
That was pretty good.
I don't think I did that part right, but I love that part of the song because it comes out. It's almost close to the end. The way the song wraps up, and it's just got that little groove.
Yeah.
And not Rob Schneider. What's his fucking name? Schneider's his last name. The main guy from the singer from B-52s. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it is that boys in bikinis, girls on surfboards. Everybody's rocking. God, that's a great group. Let's do B-52's album ranking at some point because that would be fucking fun as fuck. You heard it here. I'm adding it to the list. I'm gonna do it. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. But right now, as we're doing this thing, I'm putting the B-52s on our list as a band that will be added because that would be fun.
It's funny as you were like listing off like the girls in bikinis, like other things Florida's known for. It's also known for the Florida man commits X crime meme.
Yeah,
like
that's so weird. That because I guess you move further inland in Florida, and there's not everything's beaches in Florida, but like the Florida that you see, like fucking Miami Vice. Miami Vice is not Florida man stuff going on. Miami Vice is, well, I guess maybe the people they're coming to arrest, but you know what I mean? Like it's very, it's brightly colored and nice weather and everyone's beautiful. So
speaking of that sort of thing, I just want to bring up. It's funny we should mention that because a hacker today, literally today, managed to leak to the world actual game footage of GTA 6.
oh, so they're
Like
actually working on GTA 6?
they are working on it, but on the one hand I was like, "Great. Yeah, now I can see what it looks like." And now I realize, "Oh, they've leaked the source code to the entire game. So if anyone gets their hand on it, they can just make their own GTA 6." And with that, like it ties in because Vice City is where it's set. We know that now, and Vice City is based on Miami, and it's
But
based.
is it
It's going to
based in
be
the
a.
80s?
It's not based in the 80s, but that's a trend that they've been doing with their numbered titles the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. But like it's the spin-offy ones like Vice City and San Andreas. But like I said, just wanted to make a note of it because it's the day this happened, and it's funny we should bring Florida up. Yeah,
Well, there
it's
you go.
the planets are aligning.
Because honestly, I'm not. I've always said, oh, I might go play one of those games one day, but I wouldn't be interested in playing one that isn't like in a specific time period that would be fun. Like I would want to play
Hmm.
one in the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s. But if you're making it modern day, I'm like, oh, that's not very fun. I don't like living in the modern day. Why would I want to play a game in the modern day?
Yeah, get a hold of a PS2 and get yourself Vice City, San Andreas, and possibly Vice City Stories because those three,
somebody somebody
that's
you know
period
what,
pieces.
somebody out there, I'm gonna do nobody I see people do this all the time on social medias and on their stuff. I'm just gonna see if it works. Somebody send me a PS2 and Vice City.
Yeah.
Oldheadpodcast at gmail.com. Do you have a PlayStation 2 that you don't use and you have
And a
Vice
memory
City
card.
and a memory card and you don't mind throwing me a bone, and just sending it to me? Because I'm just like, why not? Why not you? I've done enough out here for people. Somebody give me something.
Dude, you should start this like let's play series where you experience Vice City for the first time.
I would do that because they do, because isn't that's essentially what they do, like on what's that other thing called that people do videos on? Um Twitch. Is it Twitch?
Yeah. The only problem you'd have with that is that you would probably have to mute the in-game music because of DMCA copyright shit. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you could make videos on it, but you would definitely get copyright claim because there's
It
no
would, it would
way in
literally
hell
be so.
you
It would
wouldn't
be,
be driving with the music.
but also it would be a series of videos where it would be like, guess how long it takes me to get frustrated and throw my remote and not play the game anymore. It's just gonna be, God, why would it work? It's gonna
But
be
like
me.
all you would have to do is just drive a car down the street listening to Billie Jean, and you cannot tell me that you don't feel like Sonny Crockett.
Oh shit.
Like
Okay. All right.
that's
I would love,
I'm
no, do
pretty
they not? I would love that even more if I could hear "You Belong to the City." You're like, well, I'm driving down the street, but it's probably not on. It's
I,
on the Miami
I,
Vice soundtrack.
I wonder if it's on there. It
Is
might
that
be.
is
Crockett's
that
theme is in the game.
is that Glenn
Like
Fry? Somebody who does that song. Anyway,
it's
we're
one of them.
wrapping up. We're done with Obituary for this half of Obituary. So it's just,
Oh,
so come for the ranking, stay for the mindless
tangent.
rambling that happens afterwards.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
I'll,
that's been a
I'll,
good one.
although I am going to go ahead for those of you, the peanut butter platypuses that are here still. So we've done the first half of the Obituary ranking.
Yes.
This is also going to be the first ever Cranked and Ranked cliffhanger, where next week we're not going to do Obituary Part 2. You're going to have to
Oh.
wait 2 weeks for that. And if you watched our last episode, we talked about it a little bit. The reason why we're skipping a week is because next week we're going to be celebrating our 100th episode. And this will be done on a live stream on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this as a podcast, we're gonna record it and I will edit it and put it out as a podcast for those of you who can't be bothered to come and join us. But so next fuck. So if you're watching this or listening to this on Wednesday, it will be the following Sunday, which fuck, I don't know what date that is. Let me go to my calendar real quick.
I need to outdrink the Canadian.
I don't know how to work the calendar on my fancy watch.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna be posting. If you follow me on my socials, I'll be posting a few days in advance a link to the live broadcast and the times. It'll end up being 1 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. UK time. But it'll be a celebration of our 100th episode, and it's literally going to be nothing.
yeah. We're just gonna chat shit.
We're gonna show up and just talk about how great we are and how great it's been for 100 episodes, and let the people in the live stream say things or ask questions, and so it's a little bit of a celebration, bitches. And so So 2 weeks from now will be the exciting conclusion to Obituary. But, for right now, you've heard our first half.
You could say our ranking has been chopped in half.
Yes. That was genius.
Yes.
So yeah, on that note, we'll wrap this up. I think we've done about an hour and a half. That's a good length episode for us. And yes, so keep an eye on postings or even on YouTube about the live stream celebrate. See, that's what happens. That means it's time to go. So yeah, I'm not even going to finish that sentence. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
Later, dude! Feel the shit smell like a poo!
The shit smell like a poo. What the?
I was thinking of something that rhymes.
Woo! We went from like this existential conversation about the creation of music and the creation of words and what music means to us to the shit smells like a poo. That's Cranked and Rank, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Woo!